According to your story today, Silicon Valley is after these cracked engineers. So these engineers are what? Just superstars? What does it mean?
Yeah, I think that's right. They're just really good. We can talk about what the word itself means. I think the more interesting thing is that the word's popularity right now exposes some of what's going on in the labor market and what AI is doing to the labor market in this current moment. But the word, like you said, just means superstar. I think, to first order means really, really good. And if you hear it and gloss it as really, really good, that gets you like 90% of the way there. Of course, startups want really good people. They've always wanted really good people, but in the current AI moment, that's more true than ever, and we can get into a little bit of that. But
Yeah. So
correct, yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, go there. Is this an AI thing, or is this?
The word itself has been around for a little while. I started hearing the word maybe 5 years ago. I think other
Oh,
computer science kids at college, they really wanted to be cracked. They would hype each other up by calling each other cracked, similar to how you would call someone like, they're really talented, they're dialed, or, maybe if someone goes to the gym enough, they're shredded. It's just one of these kind of Gen Z-isms. Um, so cracked really just meant good. But these days, it's taken on a deeper kind of connotation of someone who's really focused on their productivity. They work long hours. They're obsessed with their craft. They want to turn out more output than ever before. They care about, learning and mastering their craft, sometimes to the exclusion of other things like hobbies or even a social life. For better or worse, the term has come to mean somewhat antisocial. I think kind of the platonic example is maybe you have someone posting on Twitter, my CTO is so cracked, they're coding through the party, and they post a picture of someone who's on their laptop in the middle of a party. I mean,
yeah.
that is also kind of associated with cracked these days.
So the broader question I want to ask you here is, I think in the talent wars and the story of AI right now, we've heard about the big pay packages going for single researchers and these, I don't know, 3-year contracts. And so I certainly see the argument here for going after cracked researchers because it feels like a researcher can make all the difference in the world in some cases in the AI story. Is that true of a single engineer? Like, can one person have that much of an impact? And by the way, where I'm going with this is, does AI change the story with vibe coding, or is it still that? I mean, an engineer is an engineer at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see. So, a lot of different types of roles can be cracked. Like, surely you can have cracked researchers as well, but really the central example is about engineers right now. And maybe I can try to get at why that is. I think the first thing to know is that people who are cracked are often very young. They're often in their 20s. Maybe by the time they're 25, they already have 10 years of experience because they've been coding since high school. And hiring people who are young has a real advantage right now. One is that you don't have to pay them as much, which is often nice. I mean, maybe you're still paying them extraordinary amounts, like you mentioned, but they're younger. They work long hours. They're very familiar with the technology, like the frontier of the technology and what
Right.
AI is capable of right now. That is more true for engineering than for research, right? Like in engineering these days, to take your vibe coded AI agent startup to $100 million in revenue in a year, you don't need to have a deep knowledge of all of this machine learning literature that came before you. You don't need to know what was going on in machine learning 10 years ago. You can just focus on what's happening now and you can try to be really good at it. That's a little different from what's happening in research, where it still serves you to have an understanding.
Research, you need. I mean, you need education. You need to
Right,
really
right,
have gone through the motions of looking at this stuff for
right.
extended periods of time.
It certainly helps. It certainly helps. But in engineering, we're seeing the same dynamic. As AI gets better, there's just more kinds of jobs that AI can do where you don't need to hire a person for them anymore. So the bar is higher. Instead of hiring average engineers, you have to hire cracked engineers because otherwise you would just have AI do it. The second effect is that the people you do hire are more productive than ever. And I think this is answering your question about vibe coding is if you are, cracked, so to speak, you should be able to harness all of the latest AI tools. You should be able to run 7 instances of Claude code at once and effectively supervise them, right? If they write something that has bugs in it, has errors, someone who is truly skilled will be able to catch those errors and they'll have the grand vision in mind from the beginning. They'll know what sort of solution they're working towards.
You talked to a recruiter who said to you, and this is in the story, that sometimes companies could look to these cracked engineers as a band-aid of sorts for deeper problems that could exist at the company. What did they mean by that?
Yeah, I think it's something similar. There are sort of a dark side, so to speak, of cracked engineers. Part of it is the sort of antisocial nature of it that I spoke to earlier. But there's also a sense of the people who get the accolades for being cracked are maybe the ones who take credit. They get the spotlight for progress that's happened in the past. But there's also a lot of less glamorous work that goes into making code work behind the scenes. They write glue code. They write little tools that make a whole team more productive. And sometimes those people don't get the glamour and don't get the accolades of being cracked, but are also essential for making a team function. So I think there's a sense of you shouldn't focus on the people who have been stars in the past when there could be people who are sort of diamonds in the rough who are contributing behind the scenes.
Well, and I'm also thinking about this whole notion of move fast and break things, right? This is sort of
Absolutely.
how problems come up sometimes, not necessarily on a technical scale, which I'm sure they are. Again, putting things together in not the most comprehensive ways, but then also like not thinking about the product that you're building and the implications of it down the road and business models and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, you got to move fast, but there are certainly risks too, I'm sure.
I think that's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, you want someone in your technical leadership who's going to be a good communicator, who's likable, who can earn the respect of their team. And then on a technical level, like you say, if you move fast and break things, maybe you ship something new really fast and you get the glory of being cracked, so to speak, but you leave a trail of bugs in your wake that all your teammates have to spend weeks cleaning up after you. Um,
Yeah.
you
Well,
really
and
want to
this and then
pinpoint.
this is how you get all the personalities clashing with each other too, is that
Right.
I mean, we see this now, is that the most cracked researchers and engineers are all fighting with each other because I mean, they're all so talented, they all get paid so much money, but they can't stay at a company for more than a year. Uh, and then I don't know, maybe that's a result of all this, is what I'm saying.
Right, right. Especially when people have conflicting visions, like when people have sort of real established and developed taste about what good software looks like and what good research ought to be. You can imagine that if people aren't totally aligned, then there can be tension there.
Right. Well, it's a fascinating word, a fascinating choice of words, I should say. I want to thank you for coming on and explaining it all to us. It's a great weekend feature. Again, that is our weekend big read, and that is Rocket Drew, our AI and robotics reporter here at The Information.